Hey guys, welcome to the Game of Inches podcast. I'm your host, Eric. This is the Final Four edition. We went from 68 teams, and now we have four remaining to see who cuts down the nets in Arizona. Those four teams are Purdue, NC State, UConn, Alabama. Let's talk about it. All right, let's talk about UConn to start with. UConn has just been absolutely dominant this tournament. I was trying to think today, like who has been that dominant? But they haven't just been dominant this tournament. They were dominant last year. Last year they were a 4 seed and they won every game, all the way to the title, by 20 points. And this year they've matched that and actually bettered it. I mean, what they're doing is just historic. Like I said, I was trying to think back today about teams that were a heavy favorite going into the Final Four, and I'm not coming up with very many. I was thinking about maybe 0-1 Duke. Well, let me start over. Let me say 99 Duke, because 99 Duke, I think, had one loss. They lost to Cincinnati that year, and UConn had 2 or 3 losses. I'd have to go back and look, but both teams were like 1-2 all year, but for some reason nobody was giving UConn credit, and Duke went in there with Elton Brand and all these boys, and UConn beat them, won their first national title. That was 25 years ago. Now 0-1 Duke was really good. They beat Arizona in the national title, and they had Jay Williams. Jay Williams was just like all-world college basketball player. And I think going into that Final Four, everybody assumed Duke was going to win, and they did. I remember pulling for Arizona, because I love to hate Duke, and I like some of their players over the years. I've liked some of their players. I have a hard time admitting that sometimes, but I've liked some of their players. But I was pulling against them, and I think they were a heavy favorite that year from what I remember. I think maybe 2012 Kentucky was a heavy favorite, with Anthony Davis. I think 2015 Kentucky was definitely a heavy favorite. They were undefeated going to the Final Four, before Wisconsin beat them. And then Duke beat Wisconsin in the title game. But I really couldn't come up with very many teams that have just been as dominant as UConn has. And like I said, they've done over a 2-year period. And I hope they finish it off, because, they put in all this work. And it's impressive. But we'll see if they can. The first game on Saturday is NC State Purdue. I think Purdue has the edge in that one. Zach Edey, that's a big boy, 7'4". He has done whatever he wanted in this tournament, against really good teams. Teams have tried to defend him differently and play different styles, and nothing's worked. Like that. He gets his. That big boy eats, and he does whatever he wants in the post, and he's been dominant defensively as well. But NC State's been on this magic carpet ride. Like, they weren't even a tournament team. They were 10th in the ACC, and then they won five games in 5 days to win the ACC title, and they were still just an 11 seed. So they've had a battle to get here, and they've beat some really good teams. But DJ Burns and DJ Horn, those boys are just finding a way to do it. And you look at their stats, it's not even like, hey, they're doing this really well or they're doing that really well. They're just finding ways to win. So it's hard to pick against them right now. But I'm gonna go Purdue. I've been picking against Purdue all tournament. I just kept thinking that some team with really good guard play would be able to speed the game up and knock Edey out of the game, or kind of make him a non-factor, tire him out, or attack him and get him in foul trouble. And that just hasn't been the case yet. Like, he's He's done what he wanted to do, and their guards are playing better than the other team's guards at this point, right? So they're there. So I'm gonna quit picking against Purdue, and I'm gonna say they beat NC State, um, and I'm gonna say Zach Edey, the now the two-time National Player of the Year award winner, will carry them to the championship game. I've already talked about the dominance of UConn, but they are facing a very good Alabama team. Alabama can shoot the three. I mean, when they get hot, they're on fire. And uh, I think they hit 16 threes on Saturday against Clemson. I believe 10 of those came in the second half. And I mean, I think at one point, Sears was 6 for 7, or he might have been 6 for 7 in the second half on threes. So they can definitely light it up. So that as a UConn fan, that makes me nervous. But UConn has bigger guards. Sears is a little guy. I think they'll be able to affect his shooting. He won't have as much space to get his shot off, and I mean they'll just have the size advantage on them. I also don't think Newton will not make a field goal in the whole game. So I think he'll definitely play better, and I think Klingon will just be too dominant, or maybe on both ends of the floor. I think he'll get his points. He'll get his points in the post, and then I think he'll block everything coming his way on the defensive side. Now, if Alabama just starts making contested shots, that's a whole different story. But I also think Connecticut has the ability to match them. Cam Spencer hasn't shot very well this tournament, and he's one of the best shooters in the country. I think it'll be it'll be time for him to catch fire and knock some threes down. I'd like to see him knock a three down, early in the game and kind of get his swagger, because when he's playing with swagger and all his confidence, the UConn's just a different team. They, as good as they are already, they even go to a different level. So I think he'll knock down some threes. I think Newton will not be field goalless. I think he'll put up the points that he usually puts up. And I think UConn will find a way to beat Alabama. I'm not going to go out and say it's going to be double digits, even though that's what they've been doing to everybody. I mean, when they played Illinois, the game was tied. They jumped out to an early lead, and then Illinois fought its way back, playing Illinois style. And it was tied at 23, but Connecticut went on a 30-0 run. Who does that? I haven't seen that in basketball on any level, high school, college, NBA. You see runs, but 30-0. A lot has to go your way for it to be a 30-0 run, and that's just kind of been what UConn's been this year. They might have a little lull where they're not shooting the ball well or scoring, or they might have a couple of possessions where they're turning the ball over, but the next thing you know, they get in a flow, and it's game over. So I think some point between late first and early second, they're going to hit that in this game, and it's going to be over. And it's going to be a UConn Purdue national title game.